Hello and welcome to Inside Your County Government, a podcast that brings you an inside look at the people and events in and around county government that shape our Charles County. I'm your host, Brent Huber. This episode is part of our Inside Our Community series. County government works with associated agencies that play an important role in shaping our community. And over this series, we'll be exploring what they do, why they're important, and how you can get engaged. So today joining us is Tiffany Barber, the Executive Director of Poiema. Poiema. I'm going to get it right. I'll get it right before we're done.
It's okay.
And we're going to talk about who they are, what they do, and how they make our community better. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to be here. Really grateful for the support of the county and the trust, and just honored to share a little bit more about what we do, why it matters, and how people can get connected.
Oh, awesome. So let's start a little bit with you. What do you do there, and what is your story?
Okay. So I'm the executive director. My role is really to run the business part. A nonprofit does two things. It always has a program that serves the community, but it's also a business. And so in our organization, there are two leaders. I am the executive director, and we have a program director. And my program director, she oversees the program pieces that support the women that we serve, and I oversee the business. So that's what my role is.
All right. So why don't we talk about what Poiema.
Great job.
Got it that time. Let's talk about what Poiema is. And let's first maybe define it.
Yeah, so Poiema is a Greek word, the name, and it comes from, it actually means something made, but we pulled it out of a verse, Ephesians 2:10. And in the context of that verse, it means something made by God, or God's masterpiece. So Poiema is the word that we get poem from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's like God's poem or his poetry or his song.
All right.
And so our organization is really to empower women who are coming out of crisis to transition from crisis to sustainable independence. It's really to help them understand their value, to understand that they are a masterpiece, and though that they've often lived very differently.
Right.
When they walk in our door, we don't see their story the way that it has been. In other words, we don't view them or judge them from where they've come from. We see what they can be.
Exactly.
We see that below all of the experiences that have brought them to us, that they truly are God's masterpiece. Yeah.
Very good. So talk about what Poiema.
Yes.
Yeah. Talk about what you do. What it does.
So Poiema is a nonprofit that provides transitional housing and a restorative program for women coming out of crisis. What we do is really provide all of the resources and services that would help someone transition from a crisis to sustainable independence. So what do? The first thing that someone needs in crisis is safety.
Right.
And so we create a safe place for people to live. We've got 2 beautiful homes that allow women to come in and sleep protected, sleep in a community that is safe, and so and have all the basic needs met. So we provide them with housing, but we know that in order for them to leave our program different than how they came, they've got to make some changes. And so we wrap around their story, their experiences, their needs, the resources and services to make that happen. So most people come to us without transportation. We provide transportation through both our own Poiema vehicles as well as through a volunteer program that we've developed. Our community comes alongside the women we serve and helps them get to and from work and to vital appointments. We provide one-on-one, we call it an individual service plan, where you're really allowing that woman to develop her own goals. You're inviting her to establish goals that would help her transform from where she's at to where she's going to be. So we have a program manager or resident manager that spends at least an hour a week with every woman to help her really figure out, what is your next yes. And so usually the first next yes is employment.
Right.
And so we provide the support to obtain employment. Right now, our stats are 100% of our residents are employed within 60 days of our program.
That's that's an amazing, impressive, and wonderful stat.
Yeah.
Yeah, a testament to the program.
It is. It really is. It works. But that's not all. We provide a safe program or safe transitional trauma recovery program that allows each woman to look at the root causes of why is she in the situation that she's in? What has she experienced? It's not really what did you do?
Right.
It's what happened to you.
Right.
And it's not what is your story. It's really what happened to you, and how can we help you overcome whatever trauma you've experienced and empower you to really live what you're capable of doing. And we also provide mentorship. So this is another volunteer program that we developed. We vet, train, and support women in the community that come alongside our residents and spend a year investing time, becoming a built-in healthy friend. And a lot of our residents come to us without a strong, healthy community. And so we make sure that not only is she working a program that's helping to restore her life, but she has healthy people in her life. Not everything needs to be like a class or a program. Right. Sometimes you just need
somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we provide that too.
Yeah, yeah. So when you say provide housing, it's and let me get this right. It's transitional housing. They come to you and you give them this safe space. Now, is it just for them, or are there multiple people in the house? Do they interact with the community that's there?
Yes. So we have 2 residences. They're homes. So this is just a single family home with 4 beds. Right next door is another single family home with 4 beds. And those homes with the 4 beds, so you would have 4 basically strangers living together.
Right.
We also have a resident monitor that lives on site. So yes, they're in community with each other, but we also have a graduate of our program who lives on site, and she provides support to the ladies when staff are not present. And their homes are beside each other. So everything we do is about community as well as it's about the individual. So we're supporting her individually, and we're creating a culture where everybody belongs, where they matter, where they're seen, where they're listened to. And it just creates this culture where people all of a sudden, they become a part of a family, the Poiema family. And so, yes, they're living in community. They share a bathroom. They share a kitchen. They share living space. They all have their own individual beds.
Right.
A couple of our rooms are shared rooms, but many of them are individuals. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, the community when you're in a community of likeness or similarity, you begin to sense that maybe the problem is I'm not alone.
Exactly.
I'm not alone, and I have other people here that I can interact with and I can communicate with, who understand me differently than everybody else would, because they're all experiencing something similar.
Yes. Everything is centered around helping her to build trust, to build her skills, and to empower her to overcome whatever story that she's walked in with.
Wow. Yeah. And let's talk about some of those stories. Not necessarily the stories that they walked in with, but there's been some success stories here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the one that I think of right now is we had a resident that came to us unemployed, without a vehicle, out of a very traumatic experience. And she became employed. And during her time with us, we helped her process some of the really serious traumas that she was working through, and providing a lot of security and safety around that. Can't share the details of that, but I can just tell you that it was a really tough situation that she was evolving from, and even to obtain employment was a big deal. So she got a job, and she started to really thrive, because sometimes what we need to know is that we think we can't do something, or that we're not good enough. And as we begin to prove to ourselves through success builds confidence.
Absolutely.
And so she started to really thrive when she became employed. She got a promotion in her job. She then applied for another job, changed organizations, has since obtained another promotion. But I think the thing about her story that was really, really cool to me is that we provide transportation, but with our current resources, we can only meet 52% of ride requests.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that everybody who needs to get to and from work is using Uber and Lyft for the other half of their rides.
Right.
That costs $300 to $500 a month.
Wow.
To get Uber and Lyft back and forth half the time to work.
Yeah.
Right? So one of our volunteers stepped up and said, I've got an extra vehicle in my car, and I'd really like to loan her my vehicle. How do you guys feel about this? And so we really thought through the liabilities
Mm-hmm.
and said, this is a great opportunity to empower.
Right.
And so we said, yes, please loan her the vehicle. So she started, she borrowed the vehicle, continued in her employment, and took that $300 to $500 and started saving it. Well, last August, she had saved $3,000 and she purchased her own vehicle.
Wow. Awesome.
She will be graduating our program next week. And we are just so proud of her. She has really come to us and just changed her life.
Right.
Just changed her life. Not to mention the relationships in her family life that were not healthy and not non-existent.
Right.
But she has become a healthy person, and she's investing that in her closest relationships.
And in herself.
And in herself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So is there a guided program for each individual, or is it just like a general, because you used the word graduation, and I thought that was kind of an interesting term.
Yeah, so our program is 12 months, and it is highly structured, highly, highly structured. And yet it is also individual. Every person has their own specific needs, and so that's where we gather each person to develop their own goals. But we do have a program that is a trauma recovery program that helps them process their trauma. We also have a life skills piece, a spiritual development piece, and a recovery piece. And so holistically, we're providing the resources that would help her look at every part of her life.
Yes.
So our residents come to us usually without money and usually without a bank account. But once they're employed, we help them get a bank account, develop a budget, increase their credit scores. They're increasing their credit scores between 100 and 200 points in a year. They usually leave or graduate at the 12-month mark with $2,000 to $3,000 savings, unless they've used it to buy a car.
Right.
Their savings is what empowers them to go rent something, so they'll have the down or the security deposit.
Right.
So it's such a holistic program that is so empowering our residents. It is a program that we want to honor their investment in themselves. So we graduate each person individually. When she completes her 12 months, we do a celebration in which she's allowed to invite all of her family and friends. We host up to 100 people. We provide a meal and an individual, just a big celebration for her individually. And she can share, if she would like, part of her story. But we always just really honor the effort that it takes. Our program is modeled in three ways. Or it's one model, but three parts. So when the resident graduates, her walking across the platform, no one can take credit for. She did the work.
Right.
She did what only she can do.
Right.
So we say that each individual has a piece of this graduation or a piece of the program that only she can do. But in order for her to graduate, she needed housing, transportation, employment support, accountability. She needed love, safety. She needed to know that she mattered. And so that's the community's part, what only we can do. We provide a safe, trusting environment with supportive resources so that eventually she comes in with no trust, very afraid, but she leaves with courage and empowerment. And then because we are a faith-based organization, we also believe that there's a piece of healing that only God can do. And so we do not require faith, we do not force faith, but we create a space where people can consider how the spiritual side of them can be a part of their healing journey. And so, yeah, that's our model. It comes from the Institute for Shelter Care. It's called a triune model.
Oh, wow.
And that's how we provide the guidance for that 1-year program. We also offer, I know there's so much to tell you.
There's
so much.
No, yes.
But we also offer, so let's say she graduates at 12 months, but her credit score is not high enough.
Right.
Or employment, she's not earned enough yet to become sustainably independent. Or she doesn't have her diploma yet. Or she doesn't have her driver's license yet. It's a lot. There's a lot of work to do in 12 months. So we provide a second optional year. Right now, we have several people working what we call phase 3.
Yep.
And one of those young ladies is working on her GED. She will be graduating she'll be graduating from her GED program next week.
Oh,
so
wonderful.
the phase 3 is that extra year if you need a little more time.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's extraordinary. And I saw some of the stories on the YouTube page. How did this all come to be?
That's a great question. So this Poiema is a ministry that started out of a church.
Mm-hmm.
We are now a nonprofit, no longer a ministry of a church. But the founders, Pastor Michael Rogowski and his wife Angela Rogowski, leaders of Life Point Church. I was on staff as a women's ministry leader, and Pastor Michael had looked at the homes nearby, near the church, and he had said, what if one day we have a ministry to women with broken stories? And a few years later, a nearby property, the owner of the nearby property said, what if we give the church the first right of refusal? So the church brought that to the staff. Pastor Michael brought it to the staff, and 6 months later, 6 years ago this month, the church bought the properties that were near and decided to start a ministry. Well, I was on staff. And so when Pastor Michael brought it to us to say, hey, we really want to start this for women, I went to him and said, Pastor Michael, I need to let you know that I have a story that very much connects to this mission, and I feel very strongly that this is my purpose.
Yeah.
And so I got invited in. And so Pastor Michael brought in some other leaders, and we started this as a ministry. We went down to Oklahoma, got a blueprint from Branch 15, an organization that provides transitional living. We came back and we spent about a year and a half. Ruth Prophet, who was our program director, myself, Angela Rogowski, and a few other ladies, we developed a program in about a year and a half and opened at the onset of the pandemic in 2020. And a year later, we realized that this really needed to be a separate organization, a nonprofit. Our mission and vision are different than
Right.
A church. And so we wanted to just honor our beginning, but also realize that this is a movement,
Yeah.
and that who knows how far and wide
Right.
that this mission could reach. And so we decided in 21 to separate and become a separate nonprofit. And so today we have 2 homes, and we are on target to open a 3rd house with the support of the Charles County Charitable Trust.
Awesome. Yeah, we're going to get to the Charitable
Yes.
Trust in a second. But I have a question. You still have the original house?
Yes, we have 2 homes.
And they're all right there
Yes,
next to one another?
We have a campus that is near the church, not at the church, but
Right.
near the church, and so, yep.
Yeah, talk about divine pathway, or coincidence and serendipity and,
Yes.
and all that. I mean, it just seemed like everything aligned.
Everything aligned.
Yeah, like it was
Yeah.
supposed to be.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So let's talk about the Charitable Trust, because that's kind of how we got introduced, and kind of, how you're here and telling us all these amazing stories today. Tell me about the Charitable Trust and how you interact with it.
Well, currently, it's the amazing relationship. The trust is providing us with the funding to build this 3rd house, along with some funding that the state provided as well. So we're so grateful for the commissioners as well as our delegates that have provided lots of funding. But specifically, the Charitable Trust had a grant that they were presented to the community last spring, and that grant was for transitional housing, and we just happened to be ready for a lot of different reasons, and so we were selected. And yeah, we're getting ready to, we've had a groundbreaking ceremony, but we're officially going to be starting construction in just a few weeks.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
But Charitable Trust, just so that everybody knows, that's not your only funding source.
Not at all.
Yeah, yeah.
No, so a nonprofit, again, we're looking, the Charitable Trust right now is providing us with capital funding to build a third home. But historically, we've had a relationship with the trust since we became a nonprofit. We initially applied for grants through our fiscal sponsor. And once we reached the age of 3, which you have to be to apply to grants, we were able to start applying for funding on our own.
Right.
But initially, we've received funding for programming from the trust since, I believe, 2021. And it is a small portion, but we're grateful for it.
Right.
Yes, we are mostly funded by churches and individuals. We do apply for grants, and we do obtain grant funding, not only through the trust, but through other grant funders. But really, it's the community that supports what we do. They're the biggest funder. Individuals in our community, whether they're funding us through churches or through themselves, it's the everyday person giving a little bit consistently. That's really what empowers our program to keep going. We have right now almost 50 recurring donors. Those are individuals in our community that see what we do, and they want to help make it possible. And we have one person that donates $10, and we have a person that donates $500 monthly.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter the amount. Every little bit collectively coming together creates stability to sponsor a woman on the journey. It costs $100 a day for each resident that we serve.
Wow.
She contributes $15 to her own program of that $100 a day.
Wow.
So $15 a day is what she's contributing once she's employed. The rest, the community provides.
There we go. And if the community wants more information or wants to be able to provide, how do they get in contact?
Well, you can find us certainly on our website. So if you do a search for shelters or transitional housing in Waldorf, will pop up. It's always hard to spell Poiema, but certainly you can find us at poiemamovement.com, Poiema movement.com. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook, on YouTube. It's at Poiema Movement. And you can always see what's happening inside our doors. We try to be as transparent as possible.
Right.
The best way to come into our program is we've created an invitation called Be Our Guest.
Yep.
And once a month on the fourth Thursday, we host 1 to 3 p.m. and 6 to 8 p.m. We invite individuals to come in. Chick-fil-A is our sponsor, so they'll feed you.
Okay.
You get a Chick-fil-A lunch or Chick-fil-A dinner. And you learn, much like what you're presenting. What do we do? Why does it matter? How do you get connected? And so Be Our Guest is really the best way in the door. But if you want to learn a little bit more, you can certainly find us on social media or a web search.
Oh, all right, absolutely. And not just for donations, but I mean, you need volunteers.
Absolutely.
And community support. So talk a little bit about how important the community is to the program, to the project, to the success stories.
Well, I'll say that for the last 4 years, we've only had 4 staff members. We have more right now. Recently, we were able to get, through Maryland Corps, some interns. So we have more staff than we've ever had. But historically, we've only had 4 staff members. But we've had 65 regular volunteers almost from the start.
Wow.
And why that's important. Our volunteers provide 2 very important roles that provide support to the residents. The first is mentorship, which is a year commitment, and that's a one-on-one relationship. But the other is the transportation. We have volunteers that come in and provide a ride. If you're a transportation provider, you can provide 1 ride a week, and that matters.
Yeah.
If you're a mentor, you have to be committed to an entire year. If you're a driver, you can just be committed here and there. So there's room for people who have a lot of time, and there's room for people who have a little time. And there's certainly other ways that you can support us as a volunteer as well. And of course, as I mentioned, the donors are the ones that provide that stability that support a resident on the journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The third piece, though, is our community partners. We need partners in the community that collaborate with us. We recognize that we have an amazing program and that we have a lot of services, but we don't have everything.
Right.
And we can't be the end-all, be-all. And we don't want to be. What we want to do is partner with other nonprofits, other government entities, and other businesses that are providing services to our community. Just yesterday, I had a potential client reach out for a need we cannot meet.
Mm-hmm.
And I reached out to one of our partners. Now, I say partner. We don't have an MOU.
Right.
There's not a partnership, but there's a relationship. And so I reached out to another community partner via our relationship and said, here is a need we can't meet. And within an hour, I had people calling me saying, hey, we want to help. We need the community to come together to provide this fabric that restores or supports whatever the need is in our community. We come together as one.
Right.
And we bring what we have, and we invite others to the table. There's no competition here. There's room for everyone. We need each other. But it starts not just with knowing about each other. It moves to building that connection and relationship like this.
Right.
That then when there's a need in the future, we call each other. We're there for each other. And ultimately, it's about the people we serve.
Mm-hmm.
We're bringing resources together. And that's what's going to make a stronger Charles County and a stronger Southern Maryland.
Right. We're stronger when we all participate and collaborate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Relationships, working together, and cheerleading each other's success.
Oh, absolutely. Wonderful. Anything else you want to cover?
I would just say that, don't be afraid to do something small.
Right.
I think that when you hear how much it costs or how much time is invested, there's a tendency to feel like you can't do anything to make a difference. We all have something that's unique to us,
right,
that the world needs. And I would say start small and do something. Collectively, when we all do something small, we make a huge impact.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely agree with that. Yeah, it doesn't take much, but especially if you've got a lot, it takes very little.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Tiffany, it has been absolutely wonderful to talk to you and to hear all about Poiema.
It's okay.
I'm going to get it right. I'm never going to forget it because I can't get it right.
It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, wonderful. It has been absolutely wonderful talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And remember, local government is strongest when we all participate. Actually, it's not just local government. It's everything is stronger when we participate. So until next time, stay engaged, stay connected. Thanks for listening. If you like this podcast and want to hear more, search Charles County Government on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. And be sure to like and subscribe. We're also available on YouTube. Search Charles County Commissioners. And stay connected for all county news, information, and programs by visiting www.charlescountymd.gov/stay connected.